Welcome to the Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health podcast. I'm Ira, medical astrologist, astroherbalist, and green witch. I was diagnosed with endometriosis at 19, and I was told I would never have children. I healed my body through the power of herbs, alternative health practitioners, energy healing, and more. At 28, I had the baby they said I would never have, without any interventions. I refused to believe that my body was not able to heal itself. Along this journey, I stumbled across medical astrology, and it resonated with me so much. I started down the path to learning this unique system that had been used for thousands of years in the medical community. I now help other women heal their bodies using their cosmic blueprint, the unique blueprint that every person has embedded in their DNA from the stars. This system helps me see what's going on in your body on a cosmic level and exactly how to help you give your body what it needs to heal itself. We are all uniquely and amazingly designed, and when we learn to work with our design, love ourselves for how we are designed to function, and integrate the cosmos into our lives, I truly believe that we can see true and lasting health brought into our lives. If you are ready to change your life, heal your body, and learn to deeply love who you are, this podcast is for you. Come join me as I discuss medical astrology, astronutrition, astroherbalism, health, wellness, spirituality, transformation, and so much more. I'm so excited you are joining me. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health. I'm Ira. I'm your host. Today's episode is a really, really fun one for me, and amazing, and a great conversation. It's with Ashley Rose. She is a friend, and she's an intuitive, and she creates malas, and she does this new course about love, and the conversation just kept flowing while we were recording, and it ended up being 2 hours long. So to make sure that you're not having to listen to like a 2-hour long episode at once, I have split it up. So this is part 1, and then part 2 will be coming in a couple of days for you to finish listening to. So this one was just really good. Ashley's amazing. She has a program coming out, The Alchemy of Love, that starts at the end of this month, February 2024, if you're listening to it as this comes out. So go check that out. The links will be in the show notes. It's absolutely amazing. She's given me a sneak peek, and it just blew my mind. It's absolutely such an amazing program. Her workbook's like 55 pages or something to go with it. So this is a very in-depth course. She's amazing. This is amazing. Ashley does a wonderful job with her malas and all the other stuff that she makes. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know this is only part 1. Part 2 will be coming. So if you enjoy the conversation, let us know. Go check out Ashley, and I will see you guys around. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health. I'm your host, and I am here today with Ashley. Ashley is an intuitive reader and a creator that is living her soul purpose by crafting and creating energetic healing jewelry and malas. She is also spreading empowering messages inspired by the elements to encourage self-love and healing to help raise the overall vibration of the collective. Ashley is amazing, and say welcome, everybody. Hi, Ashley.
Hey!
I am so fucking glad you were on my show. I love Ashley, everybody. She's amazing. She's on Facebook as Ashley Rose, and she makes amazing things. And yeah, I'm so glad that we finally found some time to talk.
Me too. I know that just how life happened, I was supposed to be on sooner, and kids were sick, and I was sick, and you know how that shit goes.
Yeah.
So,
it's never
yeah.
a good time when that stuff happens. So it's totally okay. I get that. Like, life happens, and we have to be willing to make space for that, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah, so Ashley does these really cool necklaces mainly. I've seen her do other things too, but I just really like her necklaces. She does all kinds of different ones for energetic reasons, crystals, and then she does these really cool malas that are amazing. And so if y'all haven't followed her on Facebook, drop down to the show notes and grab that so you can see all of the stuff that she does. But let's talk about, how did you get into that? Because that's kind of like a different thing, and you don't see a lot of people doing those. So, like, what led
Mhm.
you to like doing that?
Uh, well, let's back up just a little bit. It was I had a friend that started talking to me about mediumship, and lot my whole life I've always been intuitive. But it was one of those things where I had lots of fear. I didn't really know what it was. Didn't really have a good understanding. I always felt drawn to it, knew that it was a part
Hmm.
of me, but religious bullshit, telling you that it's wrong and it's bad and blah 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 blah. But
Hmm.
I decided one day I was just gonna go ahead and start just pursuing my authentic self. And there was a number of things that kind of happened around that time, but that was the gist of it. I talked to my husband about it. He was super, super supportive. And I started like opening up my intuition again. I had to really dig because, it's like you shut it down for a while and then you kind of
Uh-huh.
got to like figure out how to get back into it. And one of the first things that came to me was, you're going to make a mala. And I remember sitting there and I was like, what the fuck is a mala? Anytime I get messages from spirit, I have no idea what they're talking about. My first thought is always like, what the fuck? So
Hmm.
I tried to ignore it because, at the time I was working in operations and logistics. I was running a business from home, and I was in kind of more of like a man's world where I was doing lots of negotiating and dealing with lots of different individuals and working with money. And I really wanted to get back into my intuitive side, my spiritual side. So I made a deal with my guides like, hey, if something's really important, I want you to hit me 3 times with it. And sure enough, it was, you're going to make malas. You're going to make malas. And again, I was like, what the fuck is a mala? So when I got time to sit down, I started looking it up. I was like, I'm not even like connected to this stuff. So malas are loops of beads. They're typically beads, wooden beads. That's usually what you see them as. But they are like holy beads. It's usually a loop of 108 beads, and that 108 number is just so important. It's known as like nature's sequence or the universal number of life. Like that 108 is such a powerful number, and I didn't realize that. And that was something that I started getting into it. And the message was I was going to make malas to help people heal. And again, I was like, well, okay. So, spirit just kind of keeps pushing at you, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But I was led kind of down a different path of doing a different kind of mala, because malas come back from like thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So, Arabics, they used to use Tibetan monks use them. Lots of different religions. I don't say religions. That's not a good word. Not that that's a bad word, but let's not go there. But lots of different cultures use them, and they use them to help them get into a state of meditation. So the 108 is such a powerful number because it's believed that you can do breath work 108 times or do a mantra 108 times, and you can get to the space of self realization, self awareness, and
Hmm.
you become
Yeah.
one with the universe. So that is what essentially a mala is. And I am a certified chakra and crystal healer, and I love using crystals. So when I started getting into this, I really started learning about the gifts that I have. And the gifts that I have is that when I assess people's energy with their permission, their energy tends to show me colors of what they need and what they are. So what kind of person is, I can usually tell if someone
Hmm.
is like full of love because I see a lot of pink around them, or they radiate a lot of yellow or light. If I'm doing an assessment for someone because they want a mala, if I see someone who, um, you know, like when I'm doing the assessment, and it's for service and it's for support. If
Hmm.
I get colors like orange or blue, it usually tells me that, they need a boost of confidence and they need to open up their throat chakra. They need more clarity. And as I sit through that, my gifts tend to open up and my intuition really kicks into high gear. And it's like soda light will be great for this person, but lapis lazuli will not be that, good for that person.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I assess their energy because crystals that work for me will not work for someone else and vice versa. And I believe that everybody's energy is just incredibly unique to them. So I never make the same mala twice. Every mala that I create is for them, for that person, for their needs, and to support them energetically. So if someone wants a
Hmm.
self-love mala, I've made probably a dozen self-love malas since I started doing this. Although they may be similar crystals, they'll never, ever, ever look the same. They're usually different tassels, pendants, anything like that. I've used wood because people have requested it or I felt called to do it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I go into kind of a trance and I just design it as I feel that the person will need it. And I've never had anyone complain about their mala. So woohoo, it's been good so far.
That's always the good thing. I used to,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but prior to getting into like what I do now, I felt the call to do something, right? It was a business, and I did start doing like jewelry. I did mainly pendants made with crystals that I did wire wrapping, and I did some really extensive like wire wrapping, and then I did like stamping as well, for
Mm,
different things, and made these like, and I would go to all of these like crystal shows and rock shows around the area that I lived and pick up like actual, good real crystals from people that
right.
had like mined them themselves and were, ethical and all of that, because that was a huge thing for me. And so
Right.
that's what I did for the longest time, was kind of like imbued them with different things that I, that not only that crystal would bring, but also things that I felt like the person who was uh, gonna get this eventually would also need. Like, it was just, that's how I started. And so I've always had a fascination with that. I did eventually obviously change that up as I found, more of my calling in going toward the physical healing through other methods, but I still find it so awesome, and I love that. And that's really kind of what drew me to you begin with, as a, even just as a friend, was like, oh, I want to be friends with her, she sounds awesome. And she does cool jewelry stuff. And
I really
so
appreciate that.
it's worked out, because I think we've, turned out to be pretty good friends. So it's been a good decision. But yeah, so
I completely
I
agree.
love your malas. Yes, I love your malas. Every time I see you post one, I'm like, oh, I love that one. I don't think there's been a single one yet that I have been like, oh, that one's okay. They've all been like really great. And the other jewelry is awesome too. So yeah, that's really cool how you got into that, because
Thank you.
it's so funny how spirit like leads places that we would never expect.
Mhm.
Like, you're like, what the hell
Right.
is a mala, and why would I even do this? Like, I'm not one of the cultures typically that would, be
Right.
known
Yeah.
to
I'm
use
not at all
this. So yeah.
culturally connected to it. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I
At least
totally
not that
understand
we're
what you're
aware of.
saying. Right.
Past life
Right.
maybe. But yeah,
I mean,
and
I don't
I
think I have
that's
any
so
past
funny.
lives of being a monk or anything like that in the past. I don't have anything like that. I've had past
Yeah.
lives where I know I've been in Egypt. I'm like England.
Hmm.
Where else have I been? Girl, I've been a lot of places. My soul is old. Um,
Yeah.
Even futuristic stuff like that one was rough because it was what I was going through my like soul purpose, and they were showing me, my guides were showing me everything that I needed to do, and I wound up seeing I don't want to say I had a dream, but I get a lot of my visions at nighttime when spirit wants to talk to me because the house is quiet and shit's quiet, nobody's bothering
Yeah.
me. And
We finally
I
listen.
had a dream that night that my youngest daughter was going to be going on into another life, and it was so crazy how this was, because it was like all the souls like were gathered, and there was like this big like portal space thing that like the souls were going to cross through, and I was walking because I don't know, like I am who I am and I don't like to sit a lot, so I was walking in the background and they called my daughter's name up, and I called her out and I was like, wait, give me a hug. And she was like this little tiny thing, and she was bebopping around in her Elsa shoes and her diaper. And, I told her to be good and I'd see her soon. And she's like, okay, mama. And I was like, okay. And then she crossed through, and like, I'm not even kidding you. The next moment was like, I'm standing there and I'm like bawling my eyes out because she had died in this life. So she had like
Yeah.
crossed over, and I learned what it was like to lose a child in a past life that I had, or an alternate. I would say it's more of an alternate timeline because it looked more modern, but um,
Yeah.
It was so crazy, and I was so upset about it, and I remember telling my husband about it, because he and I are soulmates in multiple lives and timelines, and even he started crying and getting, pretty emotional about it because
Mhm.
it's like through our DNA, it's like we knew that this happened. We know what it's like, even though, in this timeline, obviously she's still here with us, but, it is crazy how spirit just, like, shows you stuff so that you can learn lessons, you know? So,
Yeah.
that one was intense.
Yeah, that sounds intense. I don't know what I would do if I saw, like, the death of one of my kids. I would be very upset. Uh, it's not something you ever want to see as a parent, Like, I feel
Right,
like, as a parent, we're supposed to go before them, not them before us,
right,
just because of how life works. So, yeah, that sounds intense for
right.
sure. Um, but it's really funny how spirit just leads. Like, it's been really weird for me lately. So, like, the I took the last 3 weeks of December off, which I think you remember, of my business, and just kind
Mhm.
of took a break because I just really felt like spirit was leading, like, take a break. And so that's what I did. And
Right.
while I was on this break, I started, like, hearing a different, like, voice than I normally hear. Like, my spirit guides have a certain way that they've talked to me. You get to know, like, what
Mhm.
they sound like and who it is that's
Right,
talking to you. And I just felt like this different voice was coming online, and I was like, I don't recognize this voice. I don't understand, like, this pattern of speech. Everything was just different and weird. And I was like,
mhm.
and it wasn't anybody that's, like, visited me before or anything. And so I finally was just like, hey, I don't recognize you. Like, who are you? What do I call you? Like, I just want to know, like, what's going on, because, like, you've never contacted me before. And um they basically, it was like maybe two or three that were kind of talking at the same time, so it was a little jumbled, but basically the gist of
Yeah,
it was that my business um has acquired its own spirit guides who have decided that they want to talk to me. And so they're, like, communicating, like, what they want to happen and what should happen and what direction I should go in and stuff. And they start talking to me over it. And that's when I got the whole, like, group program downloaded, and I got, like, all the stuff that they wanted me to do downloaded. And it was so weird because it wasn't coming from where I normally would expect it to. And so it was a little, like, disconcerting. Like, well, do I actually listen to this? You know what I mean? Because, like, you get used to, like, your spirit guides, and you trust them, and you have, like, that relationship, and you're ready to, like, yeah, whatever you say, let's go, because you know that it's going to be okay. Well,
right,
this is like a brand new, like, relationship, and it's not like any precedents set,
right.
and so it was a really, like, it was definitely a much needed time off, and it was amazing, and I loved having that. But there was a lot of stuff that happened, and that was the biggest thing, was just, like, this, like, new set of, like, people talking to me. And so that was interesting, and a little, like, it would have been weird before in the past. It's not weird now, but definitely was still a little disconcerting. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know my business had its own spirit guides, but I guess we do. So let's go. Just figuring it out as we
You know,
go.
that makes sense though. I mean, and I don't know how you are, but there are times when, like, I'll hear stuff and I'm like, "Nah, I'll wait." And it gets, like, shoved in my
Yeah.
face, like, like, the very next minute, I'm like, "No, I said I would wait." But I will eventually give in, because
Hmm.
I this year, I chose a word for myself this year, and it's freedom, and
Yeah.
I wanna be completely free to just move with what spirit wants me to do and to move with
Yeah.
what I feel called to do. And I want to be free from fear and free from judgment and free from anything that, like, holds
Hmm.
me back. And so I have been working with my guides to really just, like, surrender to that and move forward, because sometimes spirit comes to
Hmm.
you and they tell you, hey, this is what your purpose is, even though, like, you never imagined your life even following that. And
Yeah.
I know for
100%.
myself, I was sitting in, I don't know if you were in it or not, but in my group, I've got about 100 people in my group. It's called Elemental Connections and Divination Practice. Anyone's welcome to join. I do a lot of like tarot practice, divination practice. It's a safe space for people to
Mm-hmm.
come in and be able to practice their skills. A lot of my members really enjoy it because they feel that they get the validation that they're looking for, and they kind of build up that courage
Mm-hmm.
that they want before they can start reading for others. But part of my group is I bring people in. I know you have come into my group and talked about your amazing gifts that you have for medical astrology and astro nutrition, which was awesome. But I bring in like all these other people because it's not the Ashley show in my group. I don't like it to be the Ashley show. I just run the group and I host people in there as well. Um,
Yeah.
but there was a lady that came in that has an angel academy, and she taught the group how to access Akashic records. And I was super, super stoked
Mm-hmm.
about it because it was one of those things that when I was still studying under other people, which I'll always be a student of the universe, but I'm more a student of the universe now instead of like a pupil under people right now. Um, but it seemed like it was one of those things that was a bit gatekept from the people that I was
Mm.
learning, and they didn't want to really
Yeah.
teach anyone how to do that, and I really hated that. And so I found her, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll come in and I'll show you how to do it." And she basically gave us a mini lesson of how to access our own records. And again, it was another one of those what the fuck moments because I'm sitting there and I'm in meditation and my kids are screaming in the background and I'm already like, this shit's not gonna work. I bet it's not gonna work. And I really, really want to do it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into it. And I listened to her meditation and I felt so different. And it was almost
Mm-hmm.
like my feet and my head were compressing together. And I'm like, ooh, this is new. What is this? And then
Right.
I felt this energy like right behind me. And immediately I recognized that it was Saint Michael. And I've always been connected to Saint Michael, but this was like the first time that he like actually like spoke to me. And he tells
Mm-hmm.
me, because I asked a question and I didn't tell anybody what my question was, but he tells me that my sole purpose is to teach people about love. And then like because it was such a, like a mini lesson, she was like, okay, we're all done. And I was like, wait. And again, I was like, what the
Hang on.
fuck?
Go
What's
back.
this lesson? I'm like,
Yes.
wait a minute, I have to teach people about love? What is this shit? I don't teach people about love. Like, I'm such a person that's like, I sit in such a space of duality because sometimes I like to be petty and I let my dark side out and, like, really kind of like toy with the energy when I need to because it's how I feel that I need to, process and move through. But I never do anything willy nilly. I always just really assess what's going on and what do I need and what makes it better. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned that that's actually part of my soul lesson is to help people sit in their space of duality to be fully accepting of every part of themselves. So it took a while to kind of figure that out because when we think of
Yeah.
love, sometimes people are like, oh, it's all rainbows and butterflies. I'm like, I don't know what kind of love you're talking about, but that's not the kind of love that I'm used to, or that's what
Yeah.
I know it to be.
No.
um
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's 100% true. And it's not exactly how it goes. It would be nice if, it was all
Right.
rainbows and everything, but it's not. It's just not. There for you to show your light side to others and use that to help others, you have to reconcile with and interact with and even learn to love to a degree your dark side too and the dark stuff that's inside of you. Like you have to integrate the two. And when you're integrated and well integrated, then you can really like start shining bright and helping people. But you have to embrace that dark side because it's part of you too. And
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with it. We all have it. It's all there. And
Right.
of course, I'm a 5 planet Scorpio. So I have all about like, let's embrace that dark shit. Let's transform it, transmute it into something else and like get moving on it. Right. So I
Right.
sometimes maybe come across a bit like confident in that this is so easy to do because for me it is personally. But I know it's
Right.
not super easy for other people. But yeah, like we have to. Love and is not just all light. It's not. It
No.
it can't be. And when you get into a relationship with like another person, especially where you truly do for the first time, like really actually love this person unconditionally, you find out very quickly that it brings up as well a lot of that dark side in your past and things that you didn't realize were still an issue or you thought you had healed completely. And you have to learn to integrate that and transmute it or you're going to find yourself very unhappy all the time because you're going to keep blowing up your relationships no matter how great they are, and you
Mhm.
have to do that.
Well, I find that to help solve that problem, essentially,
Mhm.
because I went through and I can feel it now. They're like pushing at me to talk about it, but part of my sole purpose was to create a program to teach people how to love. And it's not just teaching people how to love. It's not me telling you how to love. It's actually
Yeah.
I created a method called the you method that it just kind of popped in my mind. It just was like, okay, and your own universe. So it's about you defining what love means to you. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times, we are taught that, oh, love is supposed to be giving, love is supposed to be this. Love looks like you being in a relationship with somebody doting on you. Well, maybe that's not how you
Mhm.
like receiving love. Maybe that is, maybe you don't have the capacity to give and give and give and give all the
Mhm.
time. It doesn't
Right.
have to be that. Love is love is energy, and it is
Mhm.
interpreted energy. But what I do know is that with that light and dark, love sits in the space of light. We have the darkness, and there are times when that darkness
Mhm.
sits in the space of fear, but you can still love your darkness, just like we talked about that. I love my darkness. I have things that I like. I have things that are more taboo that I know other people don't like, but within myself, I know what I am. I know my Lilith.
Mhm.
I know my dark female energy that sometimes has to come out and, play cat and
Yep.
mouse a little bit. And it's just, it just is what it is. But
Yeah.
I never do it in a sense where like I do it when I'm just pissed at somebody and I want to tear someone up, because I feel like we as spiritual healers and leaders, we have a responsibility to understand what our capabilities are. And you can't just go
Yeah.
shooting out energy whenever you feel like it, because then you're going to have shit that gets all messed up and there's going to be a bunch of imbalances and you're going to
Yeah.
really feel it later on. Um, but I really feel like love is a space that, like, for me, and it took a while for me to figure out what this meant, but for me, love is a space that I can go into that is without fear and without judgment. And I can
Mhm.
observe and acknowledge things with curiosity and really explore what things are around me. And I have the ability
Yeah.
to acknowledge it for what it is. And it's not me passing judgment. It's not me like, chastising. It's, oh, you know what? This is not a person that I necessarily want to be around. I'm going to send them love and be about my way,
Mhm.
because I don't feel like they will,
Yeah.
they're not meant for me. But it doesn't mean that I am going at them with hate or distaste or anything like that. So that's my personal view of love, but I know not everyone's personal view of love is that way. So the whole purpose of my program is to help people basically become the master of their own universe and be able to create the world that they want through the lens of love, to be able to be at peace, in alignment, and finally have some damn harmony, because this world is just chaotic right now. Everyone needs to be
Oh.
just a little bit more chill and be able to kind of
Mhm.
uh, feel more empowered, so that they're not running around with
Yeah.
fear as much anymore. Because I do feel like there's just a ton of people that are they just sit in such a space of fear. And it's so sad, because when you sit in a space of fear, you're definitely not sitting in a space of love, because love has no fear in it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I'm seeing that too. But oh, that program sounds so cool and amazing and definitely what is needed. You just talking about it is like literally giving me like goosebumps, which is usually what happens when I know that like something is like really awesome, right? And that my spirit guys are just like, yes, yes, yes. Yes, I love
Thank
that.
God
And
somebody's validating me. Woo! No, I'm
I got
kidding.
you,
I'm
girl.
not
Don't
even
worry.
kidding. Like, when I was first given this task, again, I was like, what the fuck? Well, okay,
Hmm.
I was supposed to be making mileage. That's what you told me. I was supposed to make healing jewelry.
Yes.
So
Why
I'm
are we
moving
veering
through.
from this?
Right. I'm moving through and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna ask some people that I have a tarot group that I practice with every now and then. They're from Europe. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna ask them. Like, they don't really know what I'm working on. Our lives are very different. I just kind of
Hmm.
pop in and pop out. We're doing a tarot session. And sure enough, I'm not even kidding you. Like, she draws cards and she's like, oh, honey, you're Venus. And she's like, you're such alignment. And she goes on and talks about how, like, I've had this really great idea and you've been told what you need to do, and everything is just going to flow and abundance is flowing for you and it's coming from a space of love. And I was like, yep, fuck, I gotta do this.
I don't have a choice anymore. Damn it.
No, and I mean, don't get me wrong. And part of it is like I had to work through my own fears because it's like I'm not used to like sitting in a space where I'm like really putting myself out there. You know, I work one on one with clients, I do assessments for energy, I make beautiful jewelry.
Mhm.
You know, my business isn't huge right now. So this is like requiring me to be like openly, publicly present once a month and teaching this once a month and advertising it every single month. And, you know, there were some things of like, oh my gosh, like what if they don't like me? And, you know, that was things that
Yeah.
happened last year. And I'm like, you know what? The word is freedom this year. I'm not going to be fearful of people that feel that way because who I am meant to teach
Mhm.
will come to me. And again, it's not even me teaching you, it's me being just a self love guide. I'm here to encourage you to live your own universe, be the master of what you want to be. And how you will do it
Mhm.
is through the lens of love.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And I think too, it makes you, take some of that pressure off of you to like be this, like guru or something. You don't need to be a guru. You're not,
Yeah.
you're not providing the wisdom. You're helping them find the wisdom within themselves. Everything we need is right inside of us. It always is.
Yeah.
We just need to learn to not only access it, but give some grace and space when it's not something we necessarily want to hear. We need to learn to listen and integrate what we're getting back and learn to accept and be okay with what we're hearing, no matter how
Right.
difficult that thing that we're hearing might be. And that's the part that's a little hard, right? To love ourselves
Right.
through everything that's going on. And yeah,
Right.
I like that too, because it does take some of the pressure off of you too, right? Because you're not having to be like this all-knowing, like wisdom person. You just literally are helping guide them to use their intuition and figure out the steps for
Right.
themselves. I like
Well,
that.
and
I like that a lot.
here's the thing, like, thank you. I spirituality is so broad in my opinion. Like ever I mean, the
Mhm.
amount of people that you and I have met in this community, I mean, is just crazy. And everybody's gifts are completely different. Like even if someone is intuitive, their intuition is different than what, you know, the way that you and I use it. I mean, you're called more to
Mhm.
do like astrology and herbs and work with the medical body, and your intuition like lights on fire with that. I light on fire when it comes to love and energy and crystals, and that's just where I
Mhm.
sit. That's where, and as of right now, like that's, I mean, I'm sure a year from now, like it's going to move into something different. You know, we're here to just move with
Yep.
spirit. And it drives me nuts when you have a spiritual person come in, you know, and they're a healer or a leader, and they try to make it sound like they're the end all be all. And you
Yes.
know, I really feel that it's important that everyone uses their discernment and it's your own truth. And that's part of why my group is built the way it is, where I bring lots of different people that are spiritual. I mean, I vet them myself. So I know their
Mhm.
energy is aligned. I know that they're teaching, you know, what they're passionate about. They've been doing it for a while. They know what they're talking
Mhm.
about. And at the end of the day, I have a group that can choose who they want to follow because they're being introduced to so many different modalities and different people. Because again, I'm not the end all be all. My journey is my journey, and those who will resonate with it will come and inquire and follow me and ask me
Yep.
questions, and I'm going to help them. And at the end of the day, all of our jobs as spiritual healers and leaders is to be able to help the collective and raise a vibration as a whole. So
Mhm.
but you know, not everyone's going to resonate with me. Some people will follow, you know, more you or more someone else in my
Yep.
group, and that's totally fine because again, at the end of the day, as long as everyone is like where they need to be in alignment, that's really what I care about. That's
Mhm.
really what matters to me. And as long as they're sitting in the space of complete self-acceptance, and you know, I feel like when you do accept yourself as a whole, you are truly loving yourself because you're allowing yourself to be authentic and you're not hiding it, you know, from anyone.
Yeah.
But I feel like when people are truly being like that, that to me is what's most important, and I'm cheering that person on, like yes, yes, rah rah, you go, go do your thing, go be what you're
Mhm.
supposed to be. I am right here cheering you on, you know?
Yes. Yes. And that's very much how I kind of like operate with how I work with people too. It's a lot of helping them find inside of themselves what it is they need to heal, because a lot of times what they need and what everybody needs to heal is always different. But I find, again, your body already knows what it needs and it's been telling you. You just haven't been able to understand it because you're not speaking that language that it speaks, right? It speaks a language
Right,
of symptoms and we don't always know. So kind of giving them
right.
some guidance along the way, like this is the place to look or this is what's going on, and helping them with that has
Mhm.
been such a different way of doing things, because the way I was taught as a herbalist and all of the degrees that I went and got was basically that like you are the guru, right? Like you do an assessment, you do a consultation, and then you're like, okay, well here's what we're going to do, and that's it, right? Like I know exactly what you need. But I don't want people to feel like they need to keep coming back to me time and again to figure it out. Like I want them to be able to eventually, I'm trying to work myself out of a job, right? Like where no one needs to come see me anymore because they've learned all they need to learn and they can manage it on their own now. That's what I want. Like I want them to feel that way and to feel confident in being able to like listen to their bodies and hear what they're saying and feel more
Right.
in tune with them and feel safe in their bodies again, and be able to figure out what the fuck it's telling them when it has a symptom. And that's the big piece of what I get from the readings is this is what's going on, this is how your body works, so when this is happening, this is probably what your body needs. So there's like a good first place to start, right? Like start here and then
Right.
we'll go from there. And I love that because it's a nice tool to help me see things that I might not be able to see otherwise, but it's also a nice
Right.
tool to help people like in their everyday lives. Once they know their chart and their bodies based on that, they can really make a lot better assessments and judgments and listen better. But I like that because it's not me being like, oh, I know it all, because I don't know it all. I would be the
Yeah.
first one to tell you I did not know it all. And
Right.
I know a lot. I know that I know a lot, but I don't know it all. And I don't ever think none of us will ever be able to know it all. Just our human brains just literally cannot comprehend all of that knowledge and maintain it and keep it, right? So it's never gonna, no one's ever gonna be like the know-it-all be all end all, but I have always appreciated that about you too, and the fact that you also come very authentic as, hey, I don't know it all, but you know what, I know this person over here who knows this, and that might
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah.
And that's what I did too. I have
So,
a
I mean, I
huge
just,
network of people that I send
right.
my clients to
Yep.
for things that I don't do or I don't know, right? Because I don't know.
Right. Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And I do feel like the spiritual sector is one of those things that so many people are trying to flood now because they think it's like a quick dollar. But,
Uh-huh.
I think you and I, we agree that there's such an energy shift going on, especially for 2024, that the people who really are not sitting in their authenticity and they're not in alignment and they're doing it for all the wrong reasons, they're going to be falling and they're going to be falling hard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
those who are sitting in their authenticity and they're doing the good deed and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing for the universe and for the collective and for the creator, and
Mm-hmm.
they're giving the gratitude, they're giving the thanks, or doing the energy exchange like they should be. Those are the ones that we're going to be seeing rise up. And
Yeah,
this is our year. So I was not
it
prepared
is.
to like just be seen right away, but universe is like, hey, chippy chop 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 chop, let's go, get off your ass. I'm like, fine, it's
Yes.
3 in the morning, I'll work on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So uh,
Well, let me tell you, I was not prepared at all to do like a group program this year. Like that was not where my mind was. It was not what I wanted. I had started a
yeah,
group program, and while it was great and the people that were in it were amazing and awesome people, and it flowed well and it did well, I never felt like 100% aligned with like how I was doing it. I felt like
right,
it not that it was inauthentic at it was a little inauthentic. A lot of it was stuff that again I had been like taught in my,
yeah,
degrees in herbalism and other practitioners that I had spoken with, programs that I had taken and courses to help myself. It all felt very scripted and like it belonged to
mhm,
somebody else. And so it was really hard to show up for this group program because it didn't feel like me. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like it was 100% authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, I had a really hard time with it. I ran it twice and then I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It does not feel right. I'm just not aligned with it in the way that I would like to be. And so I'd put it on the back burner. I let the people went through. We finished the last round. I was like, okay, that's it. I kind of took it down. I didn't mention it anymore. I kind of just let it like fade into the background, right? Still keep
Yeah.
up with the people that were in it. The two cohorts I did, it was great. They're still, I still keep in touch with them, help them out with things. It's still amazing. But it just wasn't what I wanted. And so I was thinking, like last year, I was like, yeah, it would be nice to do a group program because part of like my design and my natal chart is like I really want to help like so many people, and it's really hard to do that one-on-one because I only have so many hours in the day that I can actually
Right.
help individual people. So a group program, obviously you're able to help more people at once because you can do 10 people instead of
Right.
one. But I didn't want to do it if it was unaligned. And so I kind of thought about it, but I was like, no, I want to do this expo and we're going to work on that. And that's really important to me. And that was just really where I felt like my soul was guiding me to go. And then this popped up and they were like, they wanted me to start making it and working on it and like putting it out like then in December. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm on vacation, y'all. Like I am not working. They were like, but you want to
Right.
work. And I was like, no, I don't. I don't want to do this. Go away. Leave me alone.
Right.
And so I was like, no, this has to go on the back burner because I'm like, I can only do so much, like at once, literally. And I'm currently working on like this expo and I'm working on this other thing. And I have this speaking thing coming up. I'm part of somebody else's group program and they've asked me to be like an expert guest that comes in and speaks on what medical astrology and astro nutrition, all that for their program, which I am totally happy to do. But like if I'm doing that and coming up with stuff for that, it's really hard to work on my own stuff too, right? And
Right.
they were really insistent. So um once I get some of this stuff for the health expo squared away, I guess that's what I'm working on next because they just won't shut up about it.
Well, but I mean, what I hear you saying though is that like the group that you were initially doing it with, you didn't feel aligned in it. Now you're being called to do basically your own group. Is that what I hear you saying? Is that correct?
In a way, yeah, because like I had come up with all of like the programming and the stuff that we were going to be talking about and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of it of how I structured it, the stuff that I did, literally came from like a program that I've been in that was like, oh, when you do a group program, then you should do X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z, right? It's
Right.
like you need to have this like guide that you send to everybody, and you need to have like
Right.
a welcome booklet, and you need to, whatever it was. It was like, and so I kind of
Right.
structured it like that. It was like, oh, well, it's nice to have like an idea of like a structure and what to do, but like it always felt like I was just ripping off somebody else's idea.
Yeah.
It didn't ever feel like mine. Like the content was 100% mine. It was all stuff that I came up with, like, that kind of stuff, but it didn't feel like I wanted it to feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I totally understand because I have taken courses and classes and I've been in them and again it's like I learned that when you sit in it and it feels a bit off, you spend money and then you're like, shit, I spent
Mhm.
$500 on this, like I still need to like
Mhm.
at least see what this is about. But it just, even if it feels yucky, and I mean, I have some of the stuff I'm like, you know what, I this just doesn't feel right, like I just can't,
Yeah.
so I make the decision. And then there's a few things where I'm like, okay, this resonates, but like where's this really coming from? Again, it's going back and using like that discernment and really like
Mhm.
assessing what do you resonate, what do you don't resonate with. And you take what resonates with you and leave the rest. That's what we always say
Yeah.
when we're doing tarot reading. um
Yeah.
it's like, it
That's what I
doesn't
say
mean
before every
that,
reading that I send out.
yeah, and it doesn't mean that you didn't learn something, you learned how to
Mhm.
structure something, but I'm gonna say that at this point, you can give yourself permission to change things up a little bit. Change up that that welcome, because that was part of the problem that I had with creating the program. I'm like, I don't know how to create a program. Like, what? I've never even sit in something like this before. Like, what
Yes.
am I gonna do? I didn't know how I wanted to price it. Didn't know how. And I'm like, okay, like you want me to make this? Like, you got to start giving me something. And I'm sitting in my Akashic records, and they're like, open the Bible up. And I was like, really? We're gonna go there? You're gonna make me open the Bible up? Seriously? And then it's like, okay, so you're still giving me lessons on what love is. Great, but like, hey, like, how do you want me to do this? And I'm an Aries, and I always jump
Yeah.
the gun and shit. And, so I was like, fine, I'll sit and I'll
Yeah.
sit through your lessons and I'll listen to you. And then, like, it's like when you go with the flow and you're not trying to
Mhm.
like force it and barrel through it, it opens up. It opens things up for you. And you start learning, you're like, oh, okay. Like, and then for me, when I started just kind of sitting down and listening how they wanted me to do it, then things about pricing and how to structure it, how much to do it,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of like panic, like, how am I going to, provide for my family with this? Like, isn't going to be enough? Like, is it taking away from my
Yeah.
jewelry business? There was just so many questions I had because it was the unknown. And again, going back to my word of
Mhm.
freedom this year, it's like, you know what? The universe is going to take care of it. I'm going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to do the stuff that you want to do. And when it's time for you to do your program, like, I'm going to be there cheering you on because I know you're going to do a phenomenal job. I'm super excited about your expo, by the way.
Yes, yes. Ashley's coming and speaking in the expo, y'all. So I know I mentioned it like last week or whatever. I've mentioned on the podcast a couple times. So yes, please come
Nice.
because she's amazing. You all need to come. But yeah, it's been so weird because I wasn't like I didn't like the group program, like I did enjoy it, but it just felt so off.
Yeah.
And I think what really helped like clarify that was I did take a course last year. It was, if you've all been listening, it's the human design for biz. It's called HD Your Biz. Um, so human design for your business basically. And it's by Jamie Palmer, and she is just like an amazing individual who really helps people like figure out how to structure, set up, and work inside of your business using like your human design elements, which human design is like a mix of like astrology and other ancient like things all kind of
Right.
combined together. So it kind of used some of that like astrology, and then so I did that, and that really helped me kind of figure out like how to use my energy and what would be best, because I am a reflector in human design and I do have like ebbs and flows in my energy. And I think what really struck me was when she said that you would be better suited for group programs, but ones where it's a little more hands off. So more like self paced, they're able to go through it on their own. And I don't need to be like hand holding, because part of the structure that I was doing was like every week we were doing like a group coaching call. And that was so draining for me to every Friday have to be there at like X amount of time for like an hour or two with multiple people answering questions. And I love doing that. I do, but I don't love doing it every week. I like doing it like once a month. And that's all she
Mhm.
does for her programs. And I never once felt like, oh my God, I'm like super neglected in this program. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like bad. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay. And so it was just like learning to use that, like my energy and how I flow, and going, like you said, with the flow of like how I'm
Right.
designed to work, instead of trying to force something that somebody else said that I should do for my business. And
Right.
that's one of the things that like I've been kind of thinking like what I want for like this year coming up for my business, and like anything that I want to achieve, like how you do
Right.
for your business. And I go through this workbook every year that I absolutely love. It what was it? It's called My Brilliant Biz, and it's by Leonie Dawson. She's like an absolutely fucking amazing person, and I love her workbook because it's all on like not only like the physical stuff you want to do, but like the spiritual and intuitive side of your business as well. Like she really structures it so that yes, you got to have that physical stuff, like, goals for money or how much money did I make
Right.
last year. You got to work on the stuff that's like, kind of boring, but also like, hey, here's the intuitive side. And so I've been kind of going through that workbook like I do every year, and like, working on the stuff. And one of the things that I just really want for this coming up year is just like giving myself the grace that I need to like do my ebbs and flows and not be like so upset myself if I don't do every do it how everyone else is doing it, right? Like really just
Right.
being authentic and listening to my intuition about my business and following that stuff instead of following what everybody else says you need to do for a successful business 101, you know?
Yeah, you know what? I've got a couple things to say about that. So first and foremost, I want to tell you that comparison is the thief of joy.
Mhm.
So I'm a hairstylist by trade before I went into operations and logistics. And I was a hairstylist in a small town. And it was one of those things where we were really getting flooded with a ton of hairstylists. And it was like, oh, like you could hear some of them talking about, oh my gosh, what happens if like my clients disappear? Well, first and foremost, clients aren't your property. Second off, there are so many people that needed a haircut. Like there was enough people to
Yeah.
go around. Your business is so unique that the people that are meant to come to you will come to you and your business will grow. As long as you are remaining and being authentic and doing what you're supposed to be doing and listening to your intuition, your business will grow because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I would like totally block out that other noise of what people are telling you should and shouldn't do and be like, you know what? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I am totally for education because I'm always learning from people and I'm always learning from the universe. But at the end of the day, what resonates with me? Like, I know I was
Mhm.
told to market this way, but you know what? I'm not going to market this way because this doesn't sit right with me. I'm going to market the way I want to market. I'm going to do what I want to
Yeah.
do. And it's almost like we're having to kind of pave the way and get rid of this like hustle mentality because there's
Mhm.
just so much money that's getting thrown into our types of businesses, and then there's the people there that are trying to help us like get out there and be seen, and they're motivated by money. And it's like at the end of the day, what's most important, the money or the collective? Well, for me, it's going to be the collective because we live in a crazy
Yeah.
world and I got 4 kids and I want my kids to inherit a beautiful earth. It's beautiful, but we got a lot of
Yes.
we got a lot of stuff going on. So
Yes, we
the
do.
second thing I want to say is I love the fact that you're working out of a workbook. That I love workbook stuff. And you were talking about the classes and you were talking about the way it's set up. And I really feel like, different classes are not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Like for me personally, I like to have a lot of interaction because especially with the type of money that you spend, I don't like spending
Yeah.
$500 and it's like 2 Zoom classes. Like it's a person I don't even get to talk to. I don't like that shit. That shit drives me nuts. Um, so the way I'm setting up my personal program is it's something that you do get to have interaction with me. It will be 2 classes per month because the program is rather large, and I have a workbook that's going to be going with it, and I came up with the coolest name for it. It's called the
Yes.
Golden U Book. The Golden U Book.
Oh,
I know it sounds really silly,
yes.
but it is the your own
No.
universe. It is the golden book of your own universe because at the end of the day, like what you're doing, you're sitting down, you're going through this workbook, you're taking the action, you're making the call to action, you're taking the
Mhm.
responsibility, which is part of self-love, by the way. You're holding yourself accountable, which is part of self-love, by the way. And you are going through the motions because you love yourself, you love your business, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You are an amazing person, and you're following the examples of what you should be doing. Don't listen to the outside noise. And I definitely wanted to have a type of workbook where people could sit down and really define what their boundaries mean for them and what self-responsibility means for
Mhm.
them, most certainly what love means to them. And I called it the Golden U Book because I wanted someone when they were done with it to look at it and say, you know what, this is the book of life for me. This is the plan, the action plan that I need to be able to take full control of my life and not let anybody interfere with it and let me do what I want to do with my life and doing it through the
Mhm.
space of love. Because you're taking the time and you're figuring out what you need. You're figuring out what's going to make you happy. It's no one else. It's none of this outside noise. And that's what my program is all about, is about you figuring that out for yourself. And you're already doing it. Like, I'm so proud of you. High five, girl.
Thank you. Yeah, it's last year was quite the year. Let's just put it that way of like changes, revelations. And I think so much of like what I was taught in business works great for a lot of people. Let's just be honest, it
Yeah.
does. but it doesn't work
Mhm.
great for those of us many times who are like in the spiritual business
Yeah.
world, right? Because we do rely on our intuition and we are talking to our spirit guides, and apparently my business spirit guides now too, and all this stuff, right? And it's just so different. And the one message that I just kept getting time and again last year, and I've still been getting this year, is you have everything you need to run this business in the way that works for you
Yep.
inside of you already. You don't need anybody else to
Yes.
tell you what to do. That course was great. And you know what I
Correct.
really think I liked the most about that course that I took was the fact that there was no, you need to do X to be successful. It was, hey, you're a reflector, and this is the type of things I have seen that have worked best for a reflector to do to have a business that aligns with them, makes them feel good, and doesn't overtax the fact that their energy levels really ebb and flow based on where the moon is in the sky currently and what phase it's in, right? And it just literally gave you permission to just run your business however the fuck it works for you and not worry
Yeah.
about anybody else. And that was the first business class course, whatever, I have ever taken. And I've taken quite a few over the years of being
Hmm.
in business that really just made me feel like, oh my God, why has no one else said this? Why is this not being taught more? This was so much more useful than anything I ever took before. And I've taken a lot of shit. I mean, I have like 7 degrees and things. So like I've done a lot of things. And I'm just like, what the hell?
Right.
Where were you guys, like, where were you like 10 years ago when I started this fucking business? I would have been in like such a better place. And I'm trying not to be like, oh, I wasted all these years, because I didn't. I had all these years of learning different things and all this stuff, and it was great. And I definitely probably took the course that I was supposed to take. But man, if
Mhm.
I had heard that like 5 years sooner, it would have been so nice. It just really would have been.
No, I totally feel you on that. And anytime I feel like that, I always look at it. I'm like, okay, how do I think things would have looked differently for me had I done it? And I don't even look back on stuff like that anymore because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even with life lessons that come around, like for me, shit always comes in threes. It always has my entire life. And it's like I'm hitting the same lesson, like, oh, I'm hitting this lesson again. What the hell? But the thing about it is it's like you're
Yeah.
coming back to it and you're learning, you're assessing it from a different point in time. Like you're assessing it from with different truths that you have, you're
Mm-hmm.
evaluating it from a higher space of wisdom and knowledge because you've learned, you've grown, you've ascended essentially, and you're looking at it again and you're looking at it through a different lens. So even though you would have wanted this 5 years earlier, I mean, think about all the things that you went through and all of the growth that you went through, because that's the other thing that people forget about. It's like, why can't I do this sooner? But bigger picture is that we are human beings, not human doings, and we're here to have a human existence. So sometimes when
Yeah.
things are a little bit slower for us, there's a reason behind it. And even when we don't understand it, it's, yeah, I mean, I kick and scream all the time. I tell the universe, I'm like, this is stupid, like seriously, what the fuck? Like, why are you making me do this? But then at the end of
Yes.
the day, like, a year will go by, I'd be like, oh, I remember now.
There we
Sorry.
go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yes. Totally.
yeah, I don't get
And
really upset about stuff like that anymore. I just fucking roll with it.
yeah, I've really learned, like you said, just to roll with the punches anymore, because being upset about it doesn't change the past.
Mhm.
It doesn't change the steps that I went through. It doesn't change any of that. So that again, I find is really part of like that huge Scorpio presence in my chart, is really accepting the things that we can't change and you transmuting that, whatever feelings that brings up into more positive feelings. Like, okay, I can't
Right.
change the past, that happened, but I can take all that stuff I learned and now I can move forward and I can do so much more good in my business and help so many more people because I have, gone through this. So now I have all this life experience that I can help pass on and help guide people through similar things, right?
Right. Yeah,
Which
absolutely,
I wouldn't have
absolutely.
had before. I just
Correct.
wouldn't have had that. And that's something that I've spent a lot of time my whole life like doing and learning, because for some reason, my soul decided that this time around the sun, when it came back and wanted to do another, like round of the human experience, that it wanted to be born with 5 planets in Scorpio in the fourth house and have really shitty parents because it decided that this was some life lesson that it didn't have before and it wanted to learn this time around. So I've had a lot of like stuff to learn from the very beginning all the way through.
Right.
And learning to transmute that has really changed so much in my life and made things so much better
Yeah.
than I think they
I
would have been.
Yep. I
Yeah,
totally
and
understand what you're saying. I've got some funky planet alignments in my chart, and it was last year. I mean, I don't fuck. It was. I don't even remember what house it is. It's in my home life. Like, I'm right now. I'm a stay-at-home
mhm,
mom, and I've got my kids at home, and my husband's always like structure, structure, structure because he's a Taurus and whatever.
uh-huh,
But he's like it's just that's just how he is, that big earth guy. But I'm an Aries. Like, I get bored of shit and I don't like doing the same thing over and
mhm,
over again. And it was such a challenge for me to figure out how to navigate my day. And it wasn't until I started getting into
yes,
astrology and started really like having an understanding of like, oh, okay, so I've got Saturn that sits here, and then I've got Uranus that sits here, and then I've got Neptune, and I'm like trying to have structure, but then like the other planets like, no, we want you to just go with the flow. And then like I got shit being thrown in, like wrenches being thrown in all the
mhm,
time. And I remember my like astrologist that
yeah,
was talking to me about it initially. She was like, "Well, yeah, this is why you're having a hard time just getting through the day." And I was like, "This fucking sucks. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
uh-huh,
How am I supposed to do this?" And so going back to my program, which is called the Alchemy of Love, I had to learn how to define certain things for myself. So my husband was always like
mhm,
kind of pushing that consistency and structure. And it's like, but you know what? Structure doesn't look the same for me every day. Structure
yeah,
I have structure, but I don't have structure. Like, structure for me is saying I've got 3 things that I'm going to do today, and if I get those done, then that was me being structured, because I've got little kids. I've got lots of appointments going on. I've got lots of people like reaching out to me. Like, my day is
mhm,
not a 9 to 5 ABCDEFG all the way to the alphabet every single day, the same thing over and over again. Like, I don't eat and pee like at the same time every single day. Like, some days I don't even
yeah,
go to the bathroom at all because I'm so busy. But you know what I'm saying? Like, some people feel like they
uh-huh,
have to have that. And it's so hard when you are just told over and over and over again, hey, this is what you need. But no, I needed to figure out what I needed. So I figured
yeah,
out what I needed. And that was by deciding, you know what? I need to make my day simple because I'm a mom first and foremost here. I've got little kids that have needs. And if I get 3 things
mhm,
done, then my day was good. I got to play with my kids. My kids went out. They went to their appointments successfully. My kids went to school. Everybody got fed. The plants got watered. I got dressed. I brushed my teeth.
right,
I did business stuff. That's a good day for me. And it doesn't look the
mhm,
same every day. And
yeah,
I really had to learn how I started doing is I started defining what things meant to me. What does structure mean for me? Structure is not, it's not that like, 8 a.m. this, 10 a.m. this. It just doesn't work for me. Defining what that stuff means for you is what will help you get through the day and what helps you be the master of your own universe. Because your universe is going to look
mhm,
different from the person next to you. And it's going to look different from your mom. And it's going to look different from, like your neighbor down the street. As long as you
yeah,
are doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're doing what works for you, that peace and alignment is going to be so much easier to obtain because you're starting to understand what you as a person needs to be able to finally
mhm,
feel balanced and relaxed and be able to enjoy life and going through the motions and actually experiencing life for what it is instead of being so like confined and like forced to like you know, do these things that people are telling you have to do because it was how you were raised or it's what your job is dictating or what your family is dictating. It's like, you know what?
mhm,
Nope. I'm going on a girl's day. I'll see y'all later. Sometimes you just got to
exactly,
do what you got to do.
yes. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed making it. You can find all relevant links to today's show in the show notes below. If you loved the show today, please subscribe, follow, and leave me a review. I love to hear your thoughts, and it helps me know what is a hit and to make more of that content, especially for you. If you want to learn more about me and how I can help you, head over to atlaastrology.com. There you can sign up for a medical astrology package, download my free sun sign and your health ebook, read the blog, and so much more. If you want to connect more outside the podcast, follow my Instagram channel at @atlaastrology or join my Astro Connection community, the link to which you can find in the show notes. Until next time, love and light.